before I go to my so I got a pretty good guest tonight. I think he's a heavy hitter in the trucking industry. Pennsylvania guy, drives a badass rig. He's been around. He's not very old, but the guy's been around the block. He knows trucking. He knows trucking better than I do. I guarantee it. I'm sure he's got a few words to say, and I'm gonna send him an invite right now. I lost. Hold on a second. Here we go. Hold on. Sending an invite. Cabby. Big Cabby 869. Tell me if you guys know this guy. See if he accepts. His name is Mike Landis. Landis. You also start following this guy right now because the guy's pretty. He's pretty right on. Wait, here he comes. Here he comes. There he is. What's going on, dude? Mike? How are you?
Oh, not too bad, buddy. How about you?
Good. That looks like the interior of a 362 Cabover Peterbilt. Come on back.
That would be it.
What's going on? Hey, how's it going? You working right now?
Yeah. I'm here in New York right now.
Yeah, what part of New York?
Upstate, Horseheads area.
Oh, all right, cool, man. Do they get any? They watching for anybody up there? They pulling anybody over?
I didn't see. I think it's the first time I've ever been to New York, and I used to run New York State a lot. First time I didn't see a single cop anywhere.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, usually they're like Nazis for trying to pull trucks over and inspect them and stuff. And there wasn't even any sitting around just watching traffic or anything.
Man, you know who just joined this podcast right here? Just sitting the lady trucking. You better behave. You better behave, all right?
Yeah.
So I climbed in my truck. All right, better. Hold on. So what are you hauling right now?
Chocolate. With the chocolate.
In a tanker?
Yeah.
No kidding. How many gallons can you hold in that tanker?
This one right here is six something. We have a few different sizes depending on what we use the hauling for. Like the chocolate tankers have two holes up top, but it's still a single compartment. You have to actually use like a big long squeegee to push it out when you're done.
Is it pretty thick? The chocolate?
Yeah. Most of it is pretty thick. Just imagine taking like a block of chocolate and melting it down in a pan or something on your stove. Really? Basically, yeah.
So it's already made. You could dip your finger in it and lick it?
Some of it, yeah. We haul it in different forms. Some of it is like in the middle of being processed. It all looks kind of the same. Yeah. But, and then we haul it where, some of the stuff we haul is like the coatings for like Milky Way and Dove and stuff for M&Ms and stuff like that. So it's like, you want to take some of it home and make your own candy out of it or something.
Man, that sounds awesome, dude. It must smell good, huh?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's actually overwhelming. Like, the first couple times you haul it, you're like, oh, man, that smells good. And then after a while, you just don't even want to smell chocolate anymore because it's so strong.
Man, that's funny. What year is your truck, Mike?
99.
Okay, is there any way you can show people your dashboard or any part of your truck?
Let me see if I can flip the camera around. I'm not super technology.
I mean, dude, I'm winging it myself. There we go. Look at that. Huh?
There you go.
Nice. Oh, yeah. It's even got tilt.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if I ever told you. I probably told you I drove one of those for a year for Bud Meyer. Just same thing, same size bunk.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was cool back then. Back then it wasn't cool.
Well, it was just the normal back then,
Why now do you think everybody wants a Cabover? Everybody wants to be like you driving that. Everybody wants to be your friend.
The funny thing is when I was 21 back in 2006, my first truck I bought was an 88 Cabover Peterbilt, a double bunk.
Wow.
And I still have it. And it was funny because when I bought it, they were stupid cheap because nobody wanted them,
Right. Yeah.
And this thing nickel and dimed me, and I drove it around with no air conditioning in summer, pulling flatbed all over the country, and just I would never do that again. It's called being young and dumb, I gotta have air conditioning now. But,
sure.
So anyway, I used to get a lot of people on the radio back then and be like, "Oh my God, I wouldn't drive one of those," yada yada yada. Yeah. And then I drove that for 6 or 8 months, and the transmission went out. And I don't know, I had this wild idea to go buy a brand new truck. So I went to Peterbilt, and they approved me for a brand new 379. It was no 07, you know. So I bought that, and I put like 500,000 on it. I had it not quite 4 years. I sold it when I had my first kid. I still had my 88, my old Cabover Pete, sitting in the driveway. So I fixed that up with the money I made off selling the other one. And then it's like everybody's like, oh, man, they're getting popular again. I'm like, I hear that now. Oh, man, they're getting popular again. I'm like, I've been driving one of these since 2006.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Now everybody wants to know you just because of your truck. Isn't that crazy?
It's kind of funny because I see so many people want them and they get them, and like a month or two later they're selling them or they're parking them because of, I ain't driving that thing around.
Yeah. Nope. I just want to tell Benny Big Rigger, who just joined, we're looking at a 362 Peterbilt. Ben used to have one like that too. Yeah. I'm just gonna let him know because you can't really tell. You can't tell by your. But I just
not unless you know what this is back here.
Yeah. You got the bunk stocked with food or what? I mean, you find the places to eat out there?
Yeah, I got my clothes all piled up in the corner and my little Road Pro cooker and a refrigerator and
see what people don't know, Mike, is when you want to go to bed in a Cabover, you got to unpack the bunk and put it in the front.
You know, I went from driving my 88, my big bunk, to when I found this and I bought it. And I'm like, it's a single bunk. I think single bunks look cool and everything. And I'm like, what's the big deal? It's already a Cabover. You're only losing this much space. But
it's a big deal.
Everything you see back there in my double bunk, I could lean back against the wall and lay in the front half. Right. Now I got to move it all out. And it's kind of, I mean,
you got to rearrange the whole house just to get some sleep.
Yeah, you got to wanna. If you don't, you won't. You know, I enjoy driving it. I actually think out of all the trucks I've driven, the 362 Pete's are probably the most comfortable truck I've ever sat in and to drive down the road. Just the way they're laid out and the way you sit in them and everything. Because I have a 99 International Cabover too with the flat floor in it, and full band up with bunk beds and stuff. And that truck was awesome to live in when I was running it, but it was not near as comfortable to sit in and drive as what the Peterbilts are. So. Yeah,
they kind of feel like just like in a seat with some space, not like a Cabover Kenworth where the dog house comes out.
Yep.
So this is gonna be an easy interview, but this is the most important question people want to know. You ready?
Yeah.
You get three choices here. You sleep with your pants on, you put them on and off in the bunk, and you put them on and off in the seat. People want to know.
A little bit of all three. Generally, it's easier to take them off in the seat if you're going to take them off. But if I'm just laying down for a little bit to take a nap and I'm tired, I usually just lay back there in my clothes and.
Yeah. See, when I was driving, when I first started driving a Cabover, and my dad, he always put them on laying down and wiggled into them. And it wasn't until I drove for Walmart when I realized I could do it in the seat, and it was so much easier. I could just sit down and just lift my butt up and pull them up. And I was like, wow, this is so simple. Yeah. My dad didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, no, I've done it both ways, and it's definitely easier just doing it in the seat.
Somebody was asking, I know the answer, but you can tell them, what's the advantages of having a Cabover versus a conventional? Tight spaces, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say the biggest advantage if is you can have it like my 88, I stretched out and stuff, and it looks long, but it's still shorter than even your average freight truck that drives around, so it still gets around real good, but has a good look to it. That, and you know what? Like, I've done a lot of my own work. I've rebuilt my own motor and stuff in the 88 and everything. And once you get the cab jacked up, it is so much easier to work on than what a conventional is because there's no firewall in your way and, everything's all open, Yeah.
Now, I remember trucking in Pennsylvania, especially like Fogelsville area. You used to see Landis 359s all the time. Was that your family?
No, that was, I think they're actually called Iceland Transport or Iceland or something like that now. It used to be Indian Valley, but they used to have the Peterbilt mud flaps with Landis on them.
Yeah. Indian Valley Transport. That's what I was thinking of.
Yep.
Yeah. So how did you get into trucking? Did you always want to become a truck driver?
Yeah, so I'm actually a third generation driver. My grandfather, well, both my grandfathers, my dad, my stepdad, a couple great aunts and uncles and everything all drove. So I I grew up riding a truck with my dad. So ever since I was old enough to know what a truck was, I wanted to be a truck driver. That was like, you go to school when you're in elementary school and you're like, what do you want to be when you get older? And everyone's like an astronaut, a firefighter, a princess, or whatever. And I was a truck driver,
Absolutely.
So the only thing that ever really tempted me to not drive was when I was in high school. I got a job because I'm really like very mechanical and really like building things and stuff like that. So I got a job working at a local shop at home that actually builds stages and stuff like that for music groups that go out on tour.
Yeah.
And through that, I learned how to TIG weld aluminum and stainless and stuff like that. So I actually became one of their fabricators while I was still in high school because I got really good at it.
Yeah.
And I loved doing it. It was fun. We could use the shop for whatever. And that was probably the closest I ever came to not driving a truck. When I graduated high school in 2004, I went full-time there because I'd already been doing it for like 2 years.
Sure.
And about a month or two after I graduated, we got real slow. I was like, I'm going to go get I heard the advertisements on the radio for our local Votech that had a truck driving school. And they had evening classes. So I said, hey, I'm going to go get my CDL and just do that like part-time, just to scratch the itch, because I still wanted to drive. I still like trucks and stuff, Well, I went to the Votech, and the first day they had us drive around the parking lot, stuff like that. And as soon as I sat in the truck, it was all over from there, I got my CDL and just got a job driving from there on, So I've been trucking since pretty much right out of high school.
What do you think the best part of trucking is? And what do you think the differences are from back then when you started and when your dad started to now?
To me, the best part, there's a lot of good parts of trucking. There's a lot of good parts of trucking that have gone by the wayside anymore even since I've been driving. I've seen a lot of changes in the almost 16 years that I've been out here too. But to me, it's just the freedom of being able to roam around and kind of do as you please, and meet people. Like I've met so many, especially because of what I drive. Like I've met, I can't do anything without someone either saying something on a CB or I'm trying to get fuel and everyone wants to talk. But I've met a lot of really cool people and some of it comes from driving what I drive. There's a lot of people that I met that I've stayed friends with or in contact with just because the only reason I met them was because of what I'm driving, So I think that's the best part of trucking is just being able to kind of roam around, do as you please, and meet people from all over. I look at people that live at home that, I either went to school with or whatever, and like they don't know anything outside of our little bubble of a town.
Right.
And I know these people from all over the country and stuff like that. So, but like the difference from maybe like what I seen riding with my dad, I was born in 85, so I rode in a truck with my dad from mid-late 80s up until through the 90s, Every day, all summer, just whenever I was off school and could go with him, I was in a truck. And then as I got older, I don't know, maybe like 13, something like that, 14, he got a job where I couldn't go with him anymore. And so basically I had a good like 10 years or so from the late 80s to the mid 90s where I got to ride. And then I didn't see it again until I started trucking. So what I thought trucking is what I seen as a kid.
Yep.
And, in 2004, 2005, when I started, it was still fairly similar to that at that point.
Yeah.
But man, has it drastically changed since then.
And what do you think's changed? Is it the ELDs that have changed it? The regulations, the new drivers coming in?
I think a lot of it is, we've seen the FMCSA come about in the year 2000 when they abolished the ICC, and I think there's a lot of different rules and regulations that came about as they got older, and also I think a lot of it is the economy kind of tanked out in 2008, 2009. And I've said this to other people before. I think a lot of the reason we've seen such a change in dynamic in the industry compared to what those of us that either grew up around it or have been in it for a while remember or have seen is there's a lot of people that got into this industry that have no background in it whatsoever. Like, I'm a third generation driver, so I grew up hearing stories of my grandpa talk about it and my dad and riding with dad. And now you have people that maybe worked in an office or a factory and they know nothing about it. So they go to the big companies, which is fine. I don't hold judgment against anyone that works for anybody because they're trying to make a living, whatever. That's who they choose to do it with. The problem is the big, if they go to them for their training, one, they don't train them right. And two, they brainwash them into thinking guys like you and me that have been out here for a while are the bad guys because we kind of like to do things our way.
These guys also don't know any different. They don't know.
No,
they don't know. They don't know.
They don't understand. Jacinda likes to call it trucking etiquette. People don't understand kind of how this used to all work. And I understand things change as time goes on, but there's certain things that really don't have to, So I think that's the biggest thing. There's just a lot of people that don't have any background or history in what trucking is or was before they got into it. And the adium goes back to when I went to get my CDL at that Votech. The program was actually ran by a local guy that owned a trucking company. I actually got my CDL on a 85 359 with straight pipes that he used at the school. And when I got there for the first day, right, it's the evening class, and this guy comes walking out, and he's old school trucker, button down, pearl snap shirt, the belt buckle and the boots and stuff. And
class.
I recognized that right away. Now, here's kind of a funny story. I grew up racing dirt bikes.
Okay.
Also grew up with trucks. Well, you never knew what Mike you were going to get, because one day I'd go to school wearing a flannel shirt and cowboy boots, and the next day I'd be wearing my etnies with cargo shorts and a racing t-shirt and my flat rim back hat backwards,
Right. So you had two personalities.
Yeah. And that's what I grew up with, and it's just, whatever mood struck me that day is what I was. Well, when I went to get my CDL, I had my racer look going on, I guess, And the other guy that was in the class with me, there was only two of us. And it was kind of like a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am class in the evening, right? And he had actually lost his job at Dana, where he built rear ends for Mack.
Okay.
He didn't have the slightest clue about trucking.
Right.
Well, naturally, he was probably at that time, he was probably mid-40s, maybe, something like that. And here I am, 18 years old, dressed like a punk. And the guy comes out, and you can tell he kind of just kind of looked at me and was like, yeah, whatever,
Right.
And he's talking to the older guy, and he asked him a couple questions, and the guy didn't know the answer. And then I said it, and he was kind of like, you know that. So even back then, there was people getting into it that didn't know.
Right.
And then it was kind of funny because I got my license real fast, and that guy couldn't pass couldn't get his.
Do you find it hard? Do you find it harder to relate to people who didn't grow up in the industry?
Not the ones that are actually willing to talk and listen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't at all, because it seems like they're interested in understanding. I found there's two different types of newer age drivers, and it's the ones that 100% believe everything that the people at the big companies are telling them about how trucking's supposed to be. And then there's ones that listen to that, but they've been out here and they've paid a little bit of attention, and they're like, something don't seem right about some of the stuff I was told. And they're interested to hear what other people have to say. Unfortunately, I guess that's just kind of part of it. But, I see it in comments on Facebook all the time where people are like, oh, well, this is what you signed up to do. Who cares if you have to sit here or been out this long or whatever? And I don't know. I look at it as, I don't think anyone should have to be in a truck more than 2 weeks ever unless you choose to be.
Sure.
And that's if you live on one end of the country and you're running to the other end of the country. And
exactly. And these new people, they're in these trucks for months at a time, and they're not even making any money. They're spending more than they're making. You know,
No,
and they're sitting on a 30, just 34, which is ridiculous. Like, when did you ever need a 34 when you're on the road?
No,
you know?
I did that one time, kind of. I ran to California a few years ago, and when I used to run the coast a lot, but I had my flatbed and I do like LTL, so I'd just make everything work right. So once I was done doing deliveries and pickups, I could scoot on back. When I went out with the tank, you go straight out, you unload one place, you go reload, and you come back, you know? So it was like a little hard to lose some time.
Sure.
And I ended up having to sit for a little bit. And I'm like, this is about the stupidest thing. That was right about the time the ELD thing was getting hot and heavy, and people were kind of speaking up about it. And that was the first experience that was 2017. So that was the first experience in 13 years of trucking or whatever I had where I had to do that to that extent. And the messed up part is when I got the bar, I went and I loaded up in wine country, a load of fermented grape juice coming back east and for making wine. And I went back to Barstow and did my wash. I got a hotel there across the street from the TA. And I'm like, I'm sitting there, you watch TV. I'm like, dude, I could be like,
you can be
easing my way across, enjoying myself. You know what I mean? And it's like, man, this is so stupid. And then once it finally came time to leave, I didn't even make it out of California, and I had to pull over and take a nap because I couldn't sleep anymore while I was waiting, you know?
So these regulations are definitely not safe, not safer.
That's stupid.
They don't treat you like an adult. Like back when you started driving, when I drove over the road, you drove till you got tired. You were given an appointment. You calculated how many hours a day you had to drive and how many hours you could sleep and include shower and eat. And you got it done like an adult, and everybody wasn't crashing. Now, what the fuck's going on now with this?
Dude, I don't. It really is, and like some people are so. You just want to cheat. You just want to cheat. Well, I mean, maybe I don't know if that's what you want to call it. I call it responsibility, and it's like, and that's how I was taught to truck. You know, as my grandpa, and my dad, and stuff. They just, hey, when you're tired, you pull over and you go to sleep. You don't mess with traffic. Stop and get you dinner and a shower, and then when traffic's died down, go trucking through the night or whatever. You know.
But now when you're tired, you can't sleep because the computer tells you you can't. You can't stop and take a nap. You can't stop and let the traffic go down and then just haul all night. You can't stop if your truck's pressed out and you see rain coming towards you and you want to I'll pull over for an hour and let the rain cloud go past me, and then you can't do that.
I've had plenty of rain delays in my time. I can tell you that much, you know. There ain't nothing worse than having a pressed out truck and it starts raining for a short time. But
you're forced to drive through it. I would be pissed.
And it's I don't. Yeah.
Right. Do you think they should go back? Do you think they should go back to 10 and 8 and split sleeper berths and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, with what I do down there with my organization, like we actually, when they were looking at revising the hours of service, we gave them our own proposal on what we thought would be.
Tell people what organization. There's probably one of the people that don't know.
So actually it's on my shirt here, but it's called USTA, it's United States Transportation Alliance. Me and another group and a group of drivers that I met through kind of doing the ELD protest stuff, you know, in Washington and everything that we met through doing that, started it. It's nonprofit. It's kind of based on what OIDA started out as, but unfortunately OIDA's gotten so big they can't really do what they should be doing. And it's just kind of a grassroots thing to go down. We go to DC once a month, meet with FMCSA, congressmen, senators, whoever we need to try and get the truth about trucking in there. Because the one thing I realized when I got involved back in 2017 and I took my truck to DC to do like the protest thing against ELDs and everything like that, is there's nobody in Washington making rules that has ever driven a truck or even holds a CDL. None of them. Right? And there's no one that's really fighting for us that has any experience driving a truck recently either. Yes, the guys at OIDA have driven trucks, but most of the ones that are doing any of this stuff haven't actually driven one for 5, 10, 15 years or better. They don't have the current experience out here where myself and everyone in my organization on my board, we all are out here every day currently doing it. And I think that speaks volumes because I kind of base it off of the insurance that I use. I can't put anyone on my insurance to drive for me, for my company, that has less than 5 years of current driving experience. And like dump trucks and stuff don't count. They want like more over the road.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And their reasoning is because like my dad drove for 20 years and he hasn't driven since 2000 or something I can't put him on my insurance. He's a good driver. I know he's good. But their theory is you don't understand what it's like out here. You don't understand the current rules, regulations, you know what I mean? So I kind of look at that as if I'm sitting back and I'm wanting someone to go talk to or fight on our behalf of what really is going on out here instead of what I don't like the ATA either because they're government puppets in my mind that are just for the big companies, not the drivers out here, right? And you know, we need someone that's actually going to say what it's like out here for those of us that are sitting behind the wheel. And who better to do that than someone that actually does it every day, right?
Yeah.
Kind of my theory on it. So
do you actually go to Washington yourself, or do you have guys that go down to represent?
Yeah, no, I go myself. I've made every trip that we ever made down there. We kind of took the winter off this winter because it becomes a lot, you know. For us, because we're nonprofit, like we sell memberships and stuff like that, and you can make donations or whatever to help fund our trips to go there and everything we do. Because we go to MATS and GATS and try to go to a couple other truck shows to promote it and stuff throughout the year. The thing is like we can't make a red cent off of it because it's a nonprofit. And I wanted it that way so people don't think we're just taking our money and putting it in our own pockets.
Sure.
That we're actually using it for what we're doing. But the thing is like, shoot, for me, I probably have it the easiest out of all of us because I live the closest, but I still have to park my truck for 3 or 4 days and then drive down to DC. We stay, you know, a hotel in town there and stuff. And we usually spend 2 to 3 days down there running around the hallways and setting up meetings and stuff like that. And so, you know, I'm losing almost a week's worth of work parking my truck once a month. It's almost like taking a week vacation once a month in a sense. And it's like, it cost me in revenue. It costs a lot of money. And like some of the other guys are from, 2 of them are from South Dakota. Well, they haul a load in here and they lose a whole week worth of work till they get in here like on a Friday and deliver, then spend the weekend with me. And then we go down there like on a Sunday and we're down there Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday till we get back. You know, they're lucky if they find a load to lead out with by Friday. Man. You know, so we're putting that's our contribution personally. It's just our downtime and our loss in revenue.
So you guys are putting out a big sacrifice for the greater cause. Mm-hmm. And I mean, are you chipping away at it? Are you seeing any results from all your time and spending on doing this?
Well, there's 2 ways to look at that. Which is kind of ironic, and I'll tell you about it. But I think some people ask me that. They're like, well, have you gotten anything accomplished? Do you have a win? You know, one buddy told me, he goes, I don't know that I'm going to join again because you don't have a win. Mm-hmm. Well, we've been doing it for like 1.5 years since we created the organization, right? You got to create your contacts and build your relationships and stuff down there. And I'll be honest with you, Mike, there's times where sometimes I wish I would have never got involved because I have learned and seen so many things that just make me want to.
Sure.
Like it's that town is disgusting. It really is. They call it the swamp. That's an understatement. Yeah. But I think regardless of actually maybe getting anything done or anything like that, the fact of the matter is we do go meet with these people. We tell them what we feel. We give them real world scenarios and situations as to why these rules, some certain rules aren't going to work and stuff like that. And whether they take that into consideration or not, they still heard it, right?
Sure.
So when they go talk about this stuff, maybe, just maybe, something will pop into their head. And they'll be like, man, case in point, we attended, there was a transportation infrastructure hearing in this past June, I think it was, or whatever, last year, that we went to. We were invited to be there. We couldn't be a part of it. The ATA, OIDA, Pepsi Company, there was a trooper from Colorado, two safety advocates, and something else were there. Anyway, they were on a panel that they were being asked questions by the T&I committee. We were just there to watch. Well, when we go, this is a T-shirt, but I should have put one of my shirts on we wear when we're there. I wanted to stand out when we're in Washington. We don't wear suits. We don't dress like them. We wear button-down Dickies shirts with our name on it and our logo and an American flag on the sleeve, kind of like what you'd see a nice dressed uniform of a truck driver wearing, right? And that was the idea. And people noticed it. And we've been told that by many, many senators and congressmen and stuff we met with. They're like, you guys stand out when you walk around. And that was the point. Well, we sat in this hearing, and we're in the front row, and you could tell, we were told when we went in, you're not allowed to say anything, you're not allowed to make facial expressions if you don't agree, basically have to sit there and, even if you hate what they said, right? So they're asking questions, and they're giving examples, and I'm sitting there, and I'm having a tough time not being like, oh my God, really?
Right.
And some of the people on the T&I committee, because they're congressmen or congresswomen, noticed us sitting there. And when we went for recess, some of them came down to talk to us because they're like, they seen our shirts and they're like, who are these people,
Yeah.
And we got to talking to them, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, I can debunk everything that these people just told you like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, really? So we got a couple really good meetings out of them. And two examples. One, the Pepsi company wants an increase in weight to 90,000 across the board for the country.
Okay.
Now, here's how this works. So this guy is giving his spiel on why 90,000 is so much better.
Yeah.
And, they say because they run it up in Canada. They have 3 actual trailers up there. He's like, oh, it's 37% easier on bridge joints and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, okay, well, the more axles you have, the more it spreads the weight out. But you're also talking about still 10,000 pounds more.
Right.
Or it's 91,000. It was 11 or 12,000. Anyway, they show a picture of a trailer with 4 pallets in the nose, and then they show one loaded to the doors, and they're like, see, we can haul so much more product if you raise. I'm like,
oh, that's funny.
Really?
Yeah,
and people were eating it up because they're like, oh, wow, that truck's so much fuller with only an extra 11,000 pounds. And I'm like, oh, my God.
Wow.
Come on, you people, they don't know any better.
No.
Right?
You got to take them in your Cabover and take them to the coast and teach them,
We offer them all the time. Hey, you want to ride along and see what it's like out here? And then there was another one. The one safety advocate was all about speed limiters, right? Well, his congressman or his, he's a constituent of the one person that's on the committee. So the guy introduces himself, and this guy's like, oh, yeah, this guy's a constituent of mine, yada, yada, yada. Yep. And the congressman's actually like, he actually has a speed limiter on his own personal truck. He goes, he has the most nostalgic, famous truck you can have. He has a 359 Peterbilt. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going, he has a what on a what?
Yeah, I was going to say, he doesn't have a speed limiter on a 359 Peterbilt.
Yeah. And I'm like, I was sitting there, and this guy's all proud. Oh, yeah, my own personal truck. I put one on, and I'm sitting there. So anyway, we go have a couple meetings with these people, and I'm like, I explained the whole thing about I'm like, look, I've hauled Pepsi product, Coke product, whatever, anything like that. The pallets are heavy, usually 3,000 pounds a piece, roughly, something like that. Yeah. I said, you're looking at maybe till you put the extra axle and wheels on that trailer and everything, the framework to hold us, you might get an extra 2 to 3 pallets on that trailer. And they're like, oh, really? Yeah. I said, and that guy with the speed limiter, I said, the only way that dude got a speed limiter on his truck, I said, is if he put a newer electronic motor in. And I said, because there's never been a 359 built with an electronic motor.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we didn't know that. I'm like, I know you don't. I said, but this is why it's important to talk to people that are more grassroots, down to earth, not big business type, APA, OIDA types or whatever,
So
the sad part is they have the power to actually do something.
So when is your next big event, and is your group open to the public? How can people donate? How can people get involved?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page and also a website. The website's USTransportationAlliance.org. You can check it out, be a member on there. Like I said, we were pretty quiet over the winter. There were so many different things happening and going on. I just kind of wanted to sit back and watch the shit fly for a minute,
Yeah.
And we were actually scheduled to go down and attend the FMCSA safety summit about why the roads aren't being any safer right now. And then this whole Corona thing happened. So that got stopped. But, and we were supposed to go to Matt's and everything. So it's up in the air right now is when we get to start going back down to DC and doing our thing because everything's just shut down at the moment. The good thing that has come out of it is we have a very good open line of communication with the FMCSA. Now, that doesn't mean that we like them or agree with them, but unfortunately, if you want to get somewhere, you've got to deal with them, right? And we've gotten a good working relationship with them. So, people have questions and stuff. I can get a hold of guys like Joe DeLorenzo and Bill Mahorny and stuff like that and get answers or whatever. The downside, you're asking earlier about some things is maybe some people that are watching remember, but back in October, I attended a thing about at the FMCSA about the hours of service changing, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm the guy that told him I do what I want, when I want, and how I want. And that actually, I ended up, because I said that, I had a federal audit on my company because I said that.
Oh my God. Dude.
So that's one of the downsides of doing what I do is they want to come look at you. Now, the good thing is that I passed and actually got a satisfactory rating out of it, which they weren't too happy with.
I mean, I think every truck driver over there, they owe you a thank you for being out there and sticking your neck out and pushing for everybody. I mean, if it ever comes through, it's because of you guys. I
mean, we're trying, and I didn't. The funny thing is there's other people that are doing stuff like this too, and not that I don't think they have the right thing in mind, but there's some people that are getting involved in stuff like this because I don't know if they think it's going to get them somewhere in life or they just want to be in articles or whatever. I don't. My insurance agent's actually one of the people that pushed me to start doing this. Believe it or not. I'm not a very, even this kind of stuff right here, I don't like attention, which may sound odd because of what I drive and everybody flocks to look at it and stuff. But I drive what I drive because I like it. But even growing up, like in school, I couldn't get up in front of the 15 kids in my class and do anything at the chalkboard or give a speech without passing. I'd turn bright red as a tomato and pass out. I hated attention, right? Talking in front of people. I didn't like people looking at me. It's not my thing. And that hasn't really changed. I'm still pretty shy till you get to know me. But I
can relate.
Yeah, back in...
I'm only talking about social media. On public, I don't talk.
Yeah, I'm pretty quiet. Until I get to know you, then I don't shut up. But, once I'm comfortable. But so back in 2017, after we went to DC, we did a thing called Monday Information where we took trucks to the state capitals on the same day. And Matt Kane that has rightload.com, which if y'all work off load boards would be good to check out because it cuts out the middleman, the broker.
Right.
He's an awesome guy. He asked me to help. He did the one for PA because he's originally from PA, even though he lives in Jersey now. And he asked me to help him with it. I know a lot of guys at home, so we took 30-some trucks to the state capitol in Harrisburg.
Wow.
And he asked me, he said, hey, I'm going to have the news people there and stuff like that. We're going to be in the rotunda of the building. Will you talk? And I'm like, okay. So even when I was in school, I didn't prepare for nothing. I'm a wing it, fly by the seat of my pants. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't either. Some of the other people we asked to talk, they have their papers and everything, which is great.
Yeah.
Not me. But the thing is, for me, and the way I look at it as is, this is our lives, right? Our livelihood. Like, this is what we do. We live this. So
Mike, I'm missing the chrome button. Hold on. I just noticed it in the camera. It's driving me crazy. That's bad. I'm sorry, but that had to be done.
I can relate. That's okay.
They just fall down sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I understand. So anyway, he asked me to do that, and I'm like, I didn't write anything down because we live this, right? Like, we just know it inside and out. It's what we are. And so it's my turn to go up, and I'm like, we walk in, and they got the stand, and there's all these cameras, and I'm like, and so anyway, I go up, and it started out pretty shaky, but as I got rolling with it, like, just my natural knowledge of it came out, right? And so anyway, that was before I ever thought about even starting an organization or anything. I was just there as a American that thinks it's stupid. And my insurance agent seen it. We were on the phone one day talking about this stuff because I actually asked him, I'm like, look, I said, because you heard a lot of stuff floating around back then. Oh, they're not going to insure trucks that can't have them and this and that and the other thing. And all my trucks are old. So, and he's like, no. So we're talking about it, and I told him that I went to that. And I'm like, man, someone really needs to, like, stand up and speak for, like, the real side of the industry here, not this puff side, like with the ATA and whatever else, And while we're on the phone, he's like, he watched this, right? He went back and he found the news clips and watched it. And he's like, so why don't you do it? I laughed at him. I said, yeah, right, whatever, man. He's like, no, seriously. I said, not my cup of tea, dude.
Right.
He's like, why not? I said, I don't know why. I said, why should I? Tell me that. Well, this guy's been in insurance for a long time. Now, I come from the old school side of things, right? Load the wagon, get the job done, whatever, Mm-hmm. He's my insurance guy. He knows what I've done.
Right, yeah, sure.
And he's like, look, he said, in all the years I've been doing insurance, he said, I've never had anyone at your age with your kind of experience, with your kind of driving record. Right. It's like, I understand there's a lot of guys that have a lot more experience than you out here that can talk about it. He said, but I look at it this way as someone, he said, the older generation of trucking right now, they're just going to look at it and go, well, they're going to retire in a few years anyway. Who cares what they think? He said, you're young. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
got some years in front of you.
Yeah, and you got it to back it up. And I'm like, oh, you kind of got a point. But it's kind of funny that my insurance agent's the one that actually kind of pushed me towards.
Oh, Mike, you're well spoken. You don't. I see everybody on Facebook who says what. You're the great representative of the industry, and everything you say, you're not boasting. You're saying how it is, and I think keep going, man. It's awesome. I'll support you anyway. Again, because Instagram only lets you do an hour, so make sure you tell everybody your next big event. And can you go outside and show us your truck real quick?
Yeah. So the big thing that we started, this will be the third year for it. And it kind of started as a protest type thing, and now we've gotten away from that because we realized after we did it the first year or two, we've seen the greater good that came out of it other than trying it to be more like a protest. It's called That's a Big 10-4 on DC. We actually get permits to park the trucks on the National Mall between the Capitol and the Washington Monument in DC, right?
Yeah.
And it's an experience just to have to get the picture of your truck, just to drive on it and roll in at nighttime because we go in the middle of the night so we don't foul up traffic and stuff, And
it is so regulated, and the foot traffic that must go through there is not the typical foot traffic the trucking industry is normally going to see. So it's great. So you can put your points to the public. That's great, man.
Exactly.
Hey, show everybody how to climb out of a Cabover. But don't drop your phone.
I mean, You want the easy way to climb out?
No.
We just kind of, I got a bad knee from racing. We just kind of hang out and slide down like a fireman's pole, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Let's see it, man.
I'll turn my camera around and I'll tell you more about the 10-4 thing, but yeah. So
oh man,
the thing with 10-4 is, man, the bugs are really out now.
Yeah.
Thing with 10-4 is like I said, it kind of started as a protest, but what we realized is the public was really interested as to why the trucks were parked there, right? And you're in an area where, just like you just said, you know, at home where I live, there's a lot of truck shows all year long. And everyone where I live probably owns or is involved in trucking in some way, shape, or form, right? So everyone kind of knows about them. But down there, you have so many people that probably would never get the opportunity to be that close to them at any other time. So they get a lot of questions. In fact, this past year, I met a guy that actually built my 88. He used to work for Peterbilt on the 362 line back when my truck was built. So you got to talk to a lot of people. And at first, you know, you tell them, people just naturally want to know what you do and what your issues are and stuff like that. So you tell them. And their first response is always, well, what's wrong with them telling you, you know, I mean, maybe you shouldn't drive too much and you should only be able to work so many hours. Then you explain to them why being held to a certain amount of time once you start it for the day is bad, and how, although you're technically not forced to keep going, but people feel forced to keep going because if they don't, they might lose a load for the week or not make as much money or whatever, you know, and they start to realize it. Then you're like, you know, you want us driving next to you at rush hour? In traffic, tired, and they're like, you can see the look on their face, you know, they're like, oh, shit, this guy, you know, these guys have a point. Yeah. And so the public interaction, kids sitting in trucks, you know, there's the biggest thing I'll say is there's a lot of drivers out here who sometimes act questionable, you know? Yeah, sure. And the funny thing is I know what you're talking about. There's been some of them that have attended this that there's something about being parked out there and having these people interested in it that everyone naturally is the true professional that we all talk about being. I've never, in the first 2 years we've done it, never seen anyone not be super professional with the public and stuff out there while we're out there. It's awesome. Yeah. And so what we're basically doing with it now is instead of, because people kind of shy away when they hear protest, you know, political, blah, blah, blah. It's not political at all. It's not a protest at all. It's basically just a truck show. Hey, come park it on the mall. We meet at the fairgrounds down in off exit 130 of 95. I can't think of the freaking name right now. But there's fairgrounds down there, and there's actually, we take food donations because the local food bank will come and they put on a big barbecue actually the same weekend. We share the fairgrounds with them, so it's kind of cool. It coincides. We meet there. It's secure if you have a trailer. Then we convoy up to DC for like 2 or 3 days over 10-4. And then come back, and that's when they have the cookout and stuff. And then it's just like a truck show, a hangout. Guys bring guitars. It's just like old times, you know. Nice, man. So that's basically what it is. Come show the truck off and talk to the public, or go make meetings if you want to with your own people that represent you and stuff like that, or, you know, do whatever you want to do. Dude, you said it all, man. So when is so the one in DC? That's in is that on 10-4? Yeah. I'll get you the 10-4 falls on a weird day this year, which is still going to be on 10-4, but I'll get you the dates as to when we're going to be there. Or people can check it out. It's at 10-4dc.com. It's spelled out TENFOURDC.com. Okay. And what's the Facebook page? I think the Facebook page is the same thing if you look up 10-4DC, or that's Big 10-4 on DC, maybe. All right, Mike, important question. Best trucking movie ever. Go. I like Think Big.
Oh, with the two twin brothers? Yeah, the Barbera brothers?
Yeah.
That's a good one, yeah.
Either that or over. I mean, I wore out Smokey and the Bandit and Convoy and all that stuff when I was a kid. I can recite them word for word. I mean, they're awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. There's something about that short hood 379 and Think Big that I like.
It was a 370. I was thinking it was a 377. Yeah, but I think you're right. Yeah, that's a good one. What do you like to listen to when you're driving trucks? Music.
I'm very, very diverse when it comes to music. I grew up with hair band, 80s rock, heavy metal type stuff, you know.
You're a little young for that, too. That's good, though.
Yeah, that's what my parents listened to growing up. I didn't even start listening to country music till I was like a junior or senior in high school. But I listened to a lot of different stuff. A lot of country, a lot of rock. I kind of got into this kind of rock, I don't know, hip-hop, whatever you want to call it, rock, rap, country stuff, whatever.
What about best truck stop with the best food? Where do you like to stop? Think it's good.
Actually, you know what? I'm at one right now.
You off the 88? Huh? Where are you? Where are you in upstate New York? You off 88?
Yeah, you know what? Canona used to be awesome.
Canona. Yeah, I used to stop at Canona off 17.
Canona used to be awesome. Yeah. They closed that down a long time ago. And then there's the Penn Can on 81. And I liked White's. I liked White's before the Petro bought it. The last few years of it weren't that great, but when it was in its prime, it was good.
Oh, man. Well, thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
Yeah, dude.
Anytime.
Keep us posted. Hey, you got anything to promote? Come on. You can use this as a platform anytime you want now.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. We got whenever we're doing something or got something going on, I'll reach out to you and see if we can get the word out. Awesome,
dude. Hey, Mike, keep the bugs off your glass and the bears off your tail.
10-4, man. I appreciate it.
You know, most of these people don't even know how to clean bugs off a Cabover's window, you know?
No. When I pulled my reefer and my flatbed, I used to carry like a 3-step step stool along.
Sure.
What do you use that for? Get it out of the fuel island and get up there and...
Do you remember the old days where they had the giant stairs on wheels? That usually 2 of the wheels are broken. You
know who still has those? Well, I don't know. I haven't been out there for a little while, but the last time I was there, a few months ago anyway, was Truck World in Hubbard. Still had stairs on wheels you could wheel out there. Yeah.
Dude, do you know Truck World of Hubbard has an Instagram page?
Really?
It is fantastic. You can tell it's run by rich kids whose family own Truck World of Hubbard because they post always pictures of them. They posted pictures in Beverly Hills, but they also post pictures through the years of Truck World. And it's really cool. Yeah. I think it's called Truck World of Hubbard. I follow it. It's good.
Huh. No kidding. I have to check it out. I'm fairly new to Instagram. In fact, I met Jacinda at GATS this past year, and everyone we're hanging out and I was like, what's your gram? What's your I'm like, what the fuck? I don't have that stuff. No, I had Facebook. Shit, I still use a paper logbook. I don't know how to use this stuff.
Dude, you're the man. Paper logbook's the way to go. How many? Just one, or 1 or 2?
You know what? The feds asked me that when they were audited. They go, how many logbooks do you run? And I said, 1.
One?
And they looked at me and they're like, yeah, it's a loose leaf. I only need 1. I've been using the same logbook since 2004.
The loose leaf says guilty of something, doesn't it?
I don't know. I mean, if I was a cop, that would probably be my first thought. But I can't tell you how many times I handed it out the window and they didn't even find the right day, but they seen everything else I had written and they're like, I ain't gonna find anything anyway. Have a nice day.
My dad used to always say, if you run an illegal logbook, you're not working hard enough. So
I like to do it my way.
All right, brother. Nice meeting you. I'll see you out there.
Yeah, you too, Mike. Appreciate it, buddy.
Bye. Take care.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, a lot of great information there. Mike Landis on Facebook. Awesome guy. A lot of knowledge. Join the cause. If there's something interests you and you want to get behind his group, we could all use all the support you can get, like we can get. Wow, we almost did an hour, Dealy Equipment. Man, we're earning it today. Yeah. Wait, I got another request. Yeah, I got a new person. You know what? Instagram's going to kick me off in about 2 minutes. We're going to have to do it another night. They only let me go an hour. We've seen